What I want to talk about my guy James Wiseman because people are calling him a bust, and I don't think it's fair to call him a bust at this point in time. Number one, he's only 23 years old. He turned 23 in March. So by the time this next NBA season concludes, he'll be 24, which is still very young, in my opinion. And I think something that we need to remember is he only played 3 games in college, which he only played 3 games due to a suspension, which had some stuff to do with, he was receiving, monetary benefits or something of that nature. Obviously now with NIL and things like that, it's not, it's more complicated than that in his situation. But obviously now with NIL and everything like that, it's not as receiving monetary compensation as a college athlete is not as big of a deal. But I don't want to speak too much on that situation because I don't know all the details. But just for context, he only played 3 games for the University of Memphis due to him being suspended for violations of NCAA rules. After that, so if we go to current day, James Wiseman just recently signed a 2-year deal with the Indiana Pacers. It's a small deal. I think it's like worth less than $5 million, which for a number 2 overall pick, their first deal after their rookie deal, you typically expect them to sign, with this CBA, like probably 15 to 20 million at least per year. So, he's a little behind the 8 ball right now, but I think it's just because he hasn't played that many games. So he's been in the NBA for 4 years, and he, hasn't played over 150 games. He's played 147 games. He's played 19 minutes per game. And, I wouldn't say what he's shown has been bad. I don't think he's, like at the bare minimum, he's a solid role player and a big dude. So I think he'll continue to have an NBA career. I don't think he's just going to randomly like bust out of the league for no reason. And if we look at like when he got traded to Detroit, in the 2022-23 NBA season. And in 24 games they played for Detroit that year, he averaged 12.7 points, 8.1 rebounds, 0.8 blocks, and this was all in 25 minutes a game. So that's pretty solid production for, at the time, he was like 22 years old on a team that was not very good. And, he played on the Pistons last year. Also, they were not very good. So, but his production dropped a little bit last year, mainly because he was playing behind Marvin Bagley for the majority of the year. And, they have Jalen Duren as well. So it's just been hard for him to get the opportunity, right? And I don't really think he had the opportunity on the Warriors because they were like, we need someone who's going to come in and do exactly what we need them to do. And, for a 19 or 20-year-old kid, being the number 2 overall pick already has a lot of expectation. And, he didn't have a bad rookie season, had double-digit points, shot above 50%. He shoots a pretty good percentage for his career, 56% from the field. He's not really a three-point shooter. He's not a terrible free throw shooter either. He shoots 68% from the line. So he has all of the tools to be a solid NBA center, whether it's a starting center or a backup. But, I think if they kept him around in Golden State, this guy could have been doing better than Kevon Looney is now, right? So I just don't really get it. I just think he needs to get the right opportunity. I don't know if that opportunity is going to come with the Pacers, unfortunately, because, they still have Miles Turner. They just had a pretty decent playoff run, making it to the conference finals. So, I can't imagine that they're going to change up much, and they've re-signed, pretty much all their guys. Andrew Nembhard got a pretty solid extension. So, I don't know. But I don't think he's a bust. And I think, if made available, in the trade market, it might be good for him to go to a team where he can really just develop. That's why I was like, it would have been nice to see him stay on Detroit, but they clearly have other bigs on the roster that they're trying to develop ahead of him. And it just seems like he's gotten pushed to the wayside. But I think he has a lot of potential. He's a fairly athletic big, and he seems like he can really put the work in and do what he needs to do to get to the level where he needs to be at, to impact the game in a positive way. But I've said this once, I've said it many times. The NBA doesn't have a lot of patience anymore, and I think with a 23-year-old who has things that you can't necessarily teach, like being 7 feet tall, having a solid weight to him. He's like 240, 250. Like these are things that you can't necessarily get all the time on the trade market or in the free agent market. So, he was Mr. Basketball in Tennessee. He was a McDonald's All-American. He's a solid player. And I think if, he stays healthy, he's going to prove a lot of people wrong, and he's going to, get more minutes. He's going to make an impact on a team, right? I don't really know if that's going to be the Pacers, but I think he can make an impact somewhere. I think honestly, like, I think he should go to like Charlotte. Like if he could somehow find his way to the Charlotte Hornets or the Raptors, like that would be good for him. I think those two teams would be real good options for him. He's just got to find a place where he can play the five and get a lot of minutes and just, experiment, see what works, see what doesn't work, and see how you can be the most effective in the NBA. But I don't think he's a bust. And I think people, inside of the NBA need to give him some more, leeway to go out there and play his game and, get back to what he was and what earned him, being that second overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft. So, James, I've been seeing you on YouTube posting all those positivity videos. I'm loving that shit. So keep it coming. Your time's going to come. And when it does come, I know you'll shine. So everybody needs to stop it with this, impatience in the NBA. Let these players grow and develop so that they can actually turn into what we saw them as when they were getting drafted.